Hi guys, welcome back to We Are Tottenham TV. This is the post-match fan show after the Brighton 3, Tottenham Hotspur 2 second half debacle. Tottenham were 2-0 up at half-time, absolutely cruising, and then just took out a huge shotgun and shot themselves in the foot over and over again and refused to work, showed no desire. Ange Postecoglou has come out and said some pretty tasty quotes, I think it's fair to say. We'll get into them a bit later on. But I think we might as well just get talking to some of our guys. So let's start with you, Brian Daigle. How are you doing, mate?
I've been better. Guys. What about you two?
Yeah, no, just shell-shocked, mate, to be honest. Absolute, it's just... I kept saying it in the watch-along, but the thing that really surprised me and angered me the most is that after, they went 3-2 up with half an hour left. So at least we had a chance to do something, and they just did fuck all.
Unfortunately, that second half, Tottenham did what Tottenham do. Unfortunately, listen, that second half is just unacceptable. As a Spurs fan, there's 11 players wearing that badge. From a manager's level, it was just totally... And you know what? With 5 wins out of 5, obviously Johnson making it 6-6, you couldn't see it coming. You couldn't see it coming. I thought, you know what? We've got this game well and truly in control. Hopefully this will be a nice... simple second half, maybe get an early goal and just put it all to bed. My God, it could have been further from the truth.
Yeah, and I don't think it's the first time that Spurs have shown a real inability to deal with adversity. And can you put that down to, we were just talking about it, but can you put that down to the fact that, we're excited about this young, hungry squad, but they don't have the experience to get themselves out of these moments where things start to hurt?
Yeah, listen, we are a young squad, but we don't have a young manager. And today, unfortunately, he has to take a lion's share of the responsibility, because I'm sure you two doing the watch-along, the people watching, everyone in the pubs, everyone at the ground could see a 2-0. We were under threat. A 2-1, nothing was changing. A 2-2, then 3-2 down. The manager can see these things and should be able to make changes. He froze. We bottled it. And it's just, and just got to take responsibility. I will give him all the praise in the world for when we're playing brilliant attacking football. It's all going right. The subs should have been made earlier, a lot earlier. Some players had some very poor performances today.
Do you think, so you said he froze. I think that's really interesting because there is definitely an argument for that. But I was just saying during the watch along, do you think there's an element of him going, you lot got us into this mess, you're going to be the ones to get us out of it, which I'm not saying is the right thing to do, but, do you think that's his stubbornness being like, if you don't show me here that you can get yourself out of this mess, then I'm going to learn more about you going forward?
You know what it is, Barnaby? You look at it, and you were mentioning some of the comments he said. I've seen one where he said, we lacked on the non-negotiables, we lacked on the intensity. Well, if you're lacking in it, change it. Change it. Don't say, well, you got us into it, you get us out of it. If you're saying these words, then bring on players that will challenge to win said non-negotiables. The leaders that were on the pitch didn't lead.
Yeah, we're just...
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. We were just struck. There's a big delay. That's the problem. But Brian, keep going, mate.
I'll come back. All right, mate.
I'll come back. We'll speak to you in a bit. I just before we get on the next caller, I'm just going to read out some of Ange's quotes. He said, "This was the worst defeat since I've signed for Spurs. I'm frustrated and absolutely gutted with that. The second half was unacceptable. We kind of accepted our fate, and it's hard to understand as we've not done that while I've been here. What we did in that second half is unacceptable, and we got what we deserved. Maybe we just thought we'd roll out there and play well again, and that's not how it works, and we paid for it. We've conceded before, but it is how you react, and our reaction wasn't what it should be. It's a bad day for us, and when it's a bad day, the responsibility falls at my feet. We didn't do what you need to do at this level, the non-negotiables, as Brian was saying. We didn't compete, we lost the duels, and we lacked intensity. It doesn't matter where it came from. It was unacceptable, even if you're not going to win every game." So, Luke, what do you take from those quotes there? What will the players be thinking?
Well, I think he's shouldering a lot of the blame there for obviously not getting anything out of us. I think for me, and I say this, from that first half intensity, I don't think the goal was planned for in any way, shape or form in how to deal with it, and it showed, and we never ever recovered from that first goal. And we can say about subs, but as again, I keep saying it, who is covering? Maybe that when the first goal went on, we could have been someone in to shore that up straight away. He didn't, but I think Andrew's got to take a lot on this one.
I'll tell you what, when we get Brian on a bit later, you can ask him about the subs, because I think your point is a good one, which is, what subs could he have made at that point that really would have changed the game? I understand that. Let's speak to Sam at Spurs Undercover next. Sam, I've appreciated you putting the light on for us, and we can see the back of your room now. How gutted are you, mate? What are your takeaways from that disaster?
Where do I start, guys? First of all, thanks for having me on. Good evening. Look, I mean, I agree with Brian. After that second goal went in, I think you can kind of argue maybe that he could have made a change after the first goal, but I don't know. We had been dominating the first half, and it was just disappointing to concede the way we did. I've seen a lot of people blame destiny. I think that Van der Ven's touch just kind of took it away from him. Obviously, you still expect the players to clear that, but I think people were being a bit harsh on the first goal. But then pretty much from that moment, he just got worse and worse and worse, and was at fault probably for all three goals. And I think just the subs was so obvious to make. I personally thought that Timo had quite a good first half. He skinned Veltman quite a few times. I see a lot of people saying, Timo Werner, he's crap. He's still crap. He's not doing anything. And I was thinking, I'm not sure if I'm watching the same game, because he seems to be our most dangerous outlet at the moment. But in the second half, he reverted to type, and was kind of non-existent pretty much from when they scored. And I thought that Ange showed a real lack of ambition to make changes. I think so many times we've gone into games where we can see the momentum changing. Opposition managers make subs. They brought in Estepinian, who likes to score against us and always causes us a bit of an issue with his pace.
Yeah, he did.
And we just didn't do anything. I thought that the obvious sub for me would have been to bring on Spence at left back, or if you want to go even more defensive, because they were putting in crosses in, you could have brought on Dragosan and brought Mickey van der Ven to left back. But personally, I just thought the lack of subs really killed us.
Yeah, look, I just had a look, and actually Ben Davis wasn't on the bench today. But yeah, you're right. Jed Spence could have come on. Udogie, and it would have been an easy sub to make, because Udogie, as we know, picked up a little knock against United, so it would have been easy to just say, all right, take a breather and bring on Spence, and he might have offered us a bit more both ways with his energy.
Yeah, I mean, and then when you actually look at the subs, he waited until, I believe it was the 75th minute before he made two changes. And I think a lot of people would have probably agreed to bring Basuma on. But you're chasing a goal, and I know we've not got a great deal of attacking impetus on the bench, but you're chasing a goal and you bring on Pap Sarr, who, with no disrespect, he's not the creative spark that we needed. So that didn't make much sense to me either. I thought that maybe you bring on Basuma, let Bentancur go slightly higher, push Kulu to the wing for Werner, and try and get a bit more control in the midfield, because they were bypassing us way too easily. I mean, hats off to their manager, because he basically sussed out pretty quickly in the second half. Okay, we need to sit a bit deeper and then try and just hit them on the break. And you know, Matoma and Minte, they were having very good games in the first half. Baleba was playing really good switches out to both of them. And you know, we were quite lucky, I think, in the first half to get the second goal to go 2-0. Not necessarily because we weren't playing well in attack, but I thought defensively we actually. I'm not sure if everyone agrees, but I thought that all of our defenders had a really bad game, to be honest, in terms of defense capabilities. Like Romero obviously played some great balls up to Maddison and Porro as well. But I thought that was probably Van de Ven's one of his worst games for us. Not quite as bad as the Newcastle game, but I just thought on the ball he was getting caught out. You know, defensively, he missed a few tackles. Their goal for Rutter, I mean, he just ran through the defense like it wasn't there.
Mm. Yeah. Where do we go from here, Sam? I mean, yet again, a loss just before an international break, ruining our lives for 2 weeks. How does it make you feel, you know, any differently? Does it make you feel any differently about the Ange project? Is this a wake-up call for Spurs and something they can learn from positively, or does it worry you?
I would be lying to say that I'm not worried, because I still think there is context to the last 6 performances that we've put in. Obviously, I'm over the moon with the results. I think that's the most important thing. But there has been warning signs in all the games that we've played. You know, even against United last week, they had a couple chances before they went down to 10 men where you just thought, oh, here we go. We've absolutely dominated them and they're going to nick a goal on the break. And we're back in the same position again. But thankfully we didn't. But Brighton and no mugs, let's be honest. You know, they've got some real attacking threat. They play a very attacking style of football. I'm definitely not. I don't think I'm wavering on Ange at the moment. I think that these kind of defeats happen. I think it hurts more because of the manner of the defeat. And he's definitely got to go back to the drawing board himself. But I don't personally think that this performance should get people, you know, on his back and clamoring for Ange out again. It definitely wasn't a terrible performance. You know, we probably should have scored more goals in the first half. And I think that the players kind of didn't really do him any justice either. Like, admittedly, I still think it's quite heavily on Ange's shoulders for not making the changes earlier. But, you know, a lot of players played within themselves in the second half. As I said, our defence wasn't great. And we couldn't really get Solanke involved at all. And that's our outlet, and has been our outlet for the last 5 games. So if he can't get on the ball, and he was great in the first half with those 2 passes in behind, one that he got the assist and one that he got the pre-assist. But second half, they just sort of dug in and we had no answers, which is what's disappointing. But no, I don't think I'm wavering at the moment, but there's warning signs for sure.
All right, Sam, thank you so much, mate. Really appreciate you calling in, and try and enjoy the next couple of weeks somehow.
I'll try, but we've got to sit on that again on an international break. I couldn't tell you the last time we won before one.
I know.
But thanks for having me on, guys.
Cheers, mate. Thanks.
Cheers, Sam.
I said it to Luke when we were off air, but I'll say it here as well, just before we get Brian back on. One of the big problems with the way that we're struggling to react to adversity in the moment is people, we want to win trophies, and people are talking about, the Europa League is a good opportunity to win a trophy, or if we can get past Man City, the Carabao Cup is a good opportunity. But in cup games, you're literally going to be playing teams who, if you're beating them, they're going to start coming at you. They're going to, and what is it? So if we concede a goal when we're winning, we're going to never be able to score another goal. There needs to be some way, like those Arsenal games over the last year or so have shown, that whenever we go down, we never look like we're then going to score. Yeah. And it's very disappointing. Anyway, Brian, you're back.
Is it better this time?
Yes.
There we go. Where were we?
Well, Luke, I think, wanted to raise a point with you. Luke, go for it.
Yeah. All right, Brian. You said about subs.
Yeah.
We conceded the goal very early. What would you have said was the right time for you personally to make subs, and what subs would you have made at that moment?
Well, before at 2-1, I actually thought Bentancur overall was having a very poor game period. So Bentancur for Basuma would have been one.
Yeah.
I actually thought when I came on the fan show after Europe, I'd start Werner, but give him a lot more minutes, Mikey Moore, a lot more minutes in the second half. So he would have been 2. And the other one I would have done probably at 2-2. Destiny was having a torrid time. That's what Jed Spencer's there for. He came on when Udogie wasn't, and maybe Udogie wasn't fully fit to play this game in the first place.
Yeah, I agree.
We all heard that he was going to be okay. Well, he didn't look it, did he? And that's what Spencer's there for. So those are 3 I would have done, Luke. But you've got to remember, this has been a Spurs problem for a long, long time. A long, long time. It's always some sort of reactive rather than proactive. But the players today, just like Sam was saying before, like you were probably saying on the watch long, a lot of accountability needs to go to them. Surely a 2-1, you start running the troops, say, right, guys, don't let this slip, don't let this happen. We just let them breeze through us. But fair play to Brighton. The manager saw the difficulties, made the changes, and he's got the 3 points.
Yeah.
I wonder. This is a problem. I think this is like one of the problems with when Ange says, we have one way of playing, and if we're not playing well, we have to play better. The only way to do this is to play better. I mentioned it earlier. Clearly, we played against a 32-year-old manager there who tweaked something at half-time tactically, and then Ange kind of basically didn't have anything to tweak to counteract it, right?
Yeah, you know what? Like I said, I'm not changing my stance on Ange. I haven't changed my stance on a manager. But it's performances like this and not being able to react and see things unfolding where you can see why people do feel the way they do. Why there is heat that comes his way. Like the comments you were just reading. Some of the stuff he says makes sense, but then some of the stuff is like, well, if you saw it and you can speak about it, why didn't you act on it?
Yeah.
That's the concerning thing. It really is. I don't know if you guys have spoken about it. First off, I heard Sam just talk about it. I think Maddison was extremely poor today. Started off well, got his goal, and after that, just non-existent.
Well, I saw in my peripheral vision on the TV over there that Maddison did the Sky interview, so I'm trying to find out what he said actually. But it's interesting that they sent him out. He got his goal. The thing I'd say about Madders is, in situations like that, you need players who are going to put their foot on the ball and take the sting out. And we had nobody willing to do that. And you really would look at someone like Madders. You'd want Romero to be doing that at the back. And that is probably where I would agree with you. And he should have, stepped up a bit more there and used his experience.
It's just, and Joe also noticed, well, after all these subs came in, we started putting early balls into the box. The whole second half, we're passing it around, taking our time, passing it back, made a couple of subs straight away, early balls coming in. I can't explain just how poor it was from that first half to that second half. It was night and day, oil and water. Just unacceptable from everyone concerned at Spurs. It really was a shit show of a second half.
Yeah, you're not wrong, Brian. You're not wrong, mate. Listen, thanks for calling in. Before you go, apart from these 2 weeks, is there a way that we can bounce back quickly and get back on the kind of winning train? Is it West Ham next? Is that who we got next?
Yeah.
What a way to do it, eh? It's either going to go one way or the other. If we win, everyone will be okay. Thank God we move on, we build. If we don't do well there, then the whole thing starts up again. But they've got 2 weeks. This is reasons like this. I'm happy Maddison isn't in the England team. Stay at home. Stay with the squad. Get your training in. Get your mind focused on Tottenham. Yeah. And hopefully they'll come back bouncing, because that performance was unacceptable, and they need to sort that out quickly.
I think I'm right. I think we've got something like 5 of our next 6 games are at home, and the other one is at Palace, I think. Is that
Something
right?
like
that. I'm just looking
Something
for
like that.
positives,
AZ Alkmaar, Man City in the cup. Yeah. Mate, today, unfortunately, the only positive to take is Brennan Johnson, once again, 6 in 6. The man is on fire. Yeah. A brilliantly taken goal. For me, that is the one positive, that Brennan has shut people up again by scoring again. It was a wonderfully taken goal.
That winds me up as well because we never fucking got him another chance in the box the rest of the game. We never tried to find him. Like,
yeah, well, apart from that one where he blazed over, but that was of his own making. But we found his strength and we failed to utilise it.
Yeah. All right, Brian. Thanks, mate. Appreciate that. Have a
See
good
you
rest of
later,
the
boys.
night if you can.
Good to
Cheers.
see you, Luke. Take care.
Enjoy, mate.
Oh, dearie me. So I have to say, I'm afraid that at half time today, Jory, the Joracle, sent a super chat in saying Ange Ball has hit. I don't know what, I can't remember the words, I'm paraphrasing, but that Ange Ball is here. And I also jinxed us at half time by just being like, you know, so exciting. You know, if I was Man United, I'd be trying to find a manager who could do this, whatever. Look, we did play really well, but unfortunately, never forget that we're Spurs fans and that anything can happen. And now I'm going to invite Jory on to tell us what the hell happened in that second half. How are you, Jory?
Well, you know, I decided to try this full-on diluted hands in thing, you know, and it worked out brilliantly, right? But I would say, I mean, the way I feel about jinx in general is jinx only work for teams that don't have the full set yet, you know. So, you know, once you're the real thing, jinx don't work anymore. That's how I see it, at least. But yeah, what a shocker! What an absolute shocker! You know, I'm speechless. I do think a lot of people are kind of missing one huge thing, which was worrying me in the first half already, which is Romero. Man, he was really, really bad. His timing was really off, and he was all of that chaos in our defense was basically every goal. It was Romero starting to be with him way out of position, and also even when he was in position, he was standing behind the player instead of in front of him and stuff like that. You know, so and in general, it was a defensive meltdown for sure. And Romero's our captain now, you know, he should definitely. I mean, for me, he bears the brunt of the blame of this game. There was something that clearly happened at halftime in my view. I don't know if the players just, you know, decided in their mind that it was in the back or whatever, but Madison completely switched off his effort as well. He was helping Udogie a lot, you know, and I have to say, I don't think Udogie was at fault at all, even though, you know, when the chaos ensues, both Udogie and Van de Ven and all of them have, you know, shit happens when your structure is completely out of control, you know, and that was what happened. And Udogie was overworked. I mean, Mitte had the game of his life, you know, and it was difficult for Udogie in the first half, but Madison and Bentancur and others just were helping out there, and it worked. We contained it, but then Madison, I think he was just completely out of gas, you know, and that's what we saw for sure, a difference in clearly fitness. You know, I thought we were one of the fittest, if not the fittest team, but clearly not. And also, I mean, Brighton, they managed to get overloads on us in all their transitions, basically, you know. And then the players stopped running into the triangles. I don't know how many times I saw a player with the ball, and there was only the one option. There was nobody running into the space and making the triangle,
which was the opposite of the first half, wasn't it?
Yeah, and that's also. I didn't think we were amazing or anything, but everything we did that's the reasoning behind my tweet, and I still stand by it. I think this is this is a little bit like the Coventry moment. This is going to be a wake up moment. I am worried about Kuti though, because I'm not seeing I'm seeing some kind of I'm seeing too much kind of not taking responsibility to the level that he should be doing and has been doing. So I am worried, and his timing is way off. Every time he launches forward now, he doesn't get it. So
can I raise something, Jory?
So yeah.
Can I just raise something? Do you remember after the last international break? Was it Romero's agent or someone came out and said that Spurs wouldn't put on a private plane for him and he had to make his own thing. Do you think maybe there's a chance that he's pissed off?
Yeah, I mean, I know. I mean, I'm pretty sure he's pissed off at the board for kind of penny pinching in that way or whatever. But he might be also pissed. I mean, there might be something with Ants and him. I don't know. That's pure speculation. But for me, seems at a completely different motivation level. That maybe it's once again the international break coming up, and his mind is with Argentina once again. But that's not something you can accept from a captain and from the leader of your defense. And once again, I'm not trying to take anything away from all the mistakes that were made in defense, but that stuff will always happen once the structure goes, and the structure completely went. Brighton were really clever about creating these overloads, but I mean, for me, it was. Also, a lot of players looking towards what was supposed to be our leaders on the pitch, the senior personnel, and they didn't show up, and they didn't kind of provide any answers. I mean, the closest I saw to that was Kulusevski helping out on the right, but it was really, really a shocker. But I would also say I'm pretty sure this is like a Coventry moment as well. It's gonna be like the main focus is gonna be what completely went wrong here. In terms of Ants and the substitutions and stuff like that, he didn't have any to make, and we saw the substitutions. We're missing Wilson and Son, that's the substitutions we needed today, and we don't have them. So he did do Mikey Moore. Mikey Moore didn't look bad. Timo was probably the greatest instigation of threat from our offense, and Johnson still looks amazing. Yeah. Nobody was servicing him. We didn't get any transitional moments really in the second half, and that's also another thing about Kuti. He is way too often and more I feel not like now dwelling on the ball for too long, and I don't know if it was from Ants, but all of a sudden we started playing a lot of long balls, like aimless long balls, not like the nice dinks over which we did in the first half, and that was just throwing the ball away, so I am shocked, guys, but I still believe. Now I'm fully deluded. I do think that I do think the players know what they should be doing, and also finally, which we must just hope they were too tired because the press completely disappeared. Our press was good in the first half. Second half we stopped pressing.
Yeah, it was weird. I just want to say, because we talked a bit about QT. If you're Radu Dragushin right now, surely you've got to be saying, I deserve a go, don't I? And the one thing I'd say about Romero is, and I think we talked about this before, Jory, is he has played non-stop football for about 2.5 years. Why don't we just give him a couple of weeks rest? Tell him to go on holiday or something.
Yeah, I mean, that's how it should be handled. I agree. I mean, but I'm not sure that I could see it as a very precarious moment. But maybe even he would have gotten that if not there was this tension going on with Romero. I don't know, because I'm pretty sure Romero will take it as an offense if he's not starting, So, but I if it had been me on the sideline there, I would probably have taken Romero out Dragusin in, simply to make the statement, this is not good enough,
Well, for me, it's actually the Welbeck header that for me is the worst, because
that was awful. But
what happens with that is Sorry, Joe, but what happens with that is, as a defender, the first thing on your mind has to be, what happens if? What happens if somehow this person manages to get across? And Mera's he's actually just walking, like he's just stood there. It's really embarrassing, actually.
Yeah, and he was walking a lot the game, so I don't know what, if this is really the influence that Argentina games have, then it's not a viable option for us. But let's see. I mean, there's probably many factors going into it. But also, Barnaby, when you watch it back, the extended highlights and stuff like that, look at where Romero is when we fall apart. He is always the hole in our defense. And then other guys are trying to double up on two players and stuff like that. And that never ends well, really. So, but yeah, I won't have it any longer. But I will at least keep the Ants banner up, and I'm still convinced that the guys know exactly what they need to do. Why they stopped doing it, I don't know today, but they know. Whereas before they didn't quite know. I still know that they have the blueprint for it in their heads now. So.
Good. Well, let's end on that positivity. Jory, thank you so much for calling in, mate, and try and enjoy the rest of your night if you can somehow.
I will. Take care, guys.
Take care, Jory.
Top man. Some positivity, Luke. I mean, you got any?
Just look for the positives of the first half.
Yeah.
As I say, I think we dealt all our cards with the players out there, and that we have done recently. The worrying thing, I think every Spurs fan pretty much knows our strongest 11 now.
Yeah.
Coming off the bench to affect the game, that's where we need to build the depth that we need to do that. And I think that's the only positive you can really take from it. Because, it's frustrating.
Let's talk to Philly Ali. Hi, Philly. I think you're on mute, mate. Can you unmute yourself?
Appreciate that. How's it going, guys? Struggling through this afternoon. How about you?
Yeah, pretty depressed. What did you take away from that, mate?
Yeah, the weird thing about being a Spurs fan in a different time zone is, like, after getting up and having some drinks and getting excited, having a good first half, looking forward to a bright and shiny rest of the day. Now I got to, like, go home, like, make myself a pot of coffee, try to sober up and have the rest of the day to be productive and pretend like Spurs didn't ruin everything.
I know. I used to live in LA for a bit, so I used to love getting up early and being in the pub at like 6 a.m. to watch Spurs. But yeah, when you get a terrible second half like that, it's very hard to drag yourself back up for the rest of the day. That's for sure. What do you think?
I was so mad. I was so mad at the end of the game. I was mad at everybody. I mean, how many defenders out there in the world will push up, make a mistake, and then walk back on defense while the other team is, like, springing a counterattack? I don't understand. What is Coochie doing? Every time, he never runs back. He's, like, at a constant, like, messy walking pace. And it's like, bro, you missed 2 tackles, and now they're in on goal, 3v1. Like, run back. And then we got Timo at the other end, who is a shell of a man. Why are we playing him? I just don't understand. I know he can run fast in a straight line up the wing. But besides that, I'm not so sure he can even cross it anymore. It's crazy. I keep wanting him to just cut in and kick the ball as hard. And it went into Rose. It went into Rose's head. So what's the point of that? Everybody else in the whole middle of the pitch looked tired, looked like they were still, like, coming back from Hungary. Yeah. And I think Ange was his hands were tied. I don't think he had the men on the bench that he wanted to, the change that he wanted on the pitch. He didn't have those players on the bench. And just to round it all out, I think that referee, I would just like to say, was particularly bad. He was playing such a soft game, and then Mikey Moore gets fouled on the edge of the box, 94th minute, and he doesn't blow the whistle the whole game. He's calling these ticky-tack little fouls. I was infuriated. So you could tell. How are you guys holding it together? Because by the end of the game, I was pulling my hair out.
Well, yeah, I mean, I see my job as basically to facilitate people like you to get rid of your rage. So, I'm happy to let you do it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, tell me then, so you showed us how you feel like after that second half. So how are you feeling after the first half?
Similar to, so I came on after the Ferencváros game, and I tried to communicate my underlying concern that even the game midweek in Hungary, playing, what some people would call farmers and plumbers, I don't think that game was too far off of a result like today. Because no matter who we play, there's chances at the back post, there's chances in transition. There are very easy ways to beat us because of our style of play. And I was concerned. In the first half, I thought they had chances to score 2. It could have been 2-2 in the first half. I was really, really concerned. So then to see us come out looking like we are dragging, tired, looking like, then Udogie making mistakes, Kuti just like taking a walkabout. I was concerned.
Yeah, I regret the fact that I was really excitable at halftime. I mean, I was excitable, but I did also say, I've been a Spurs fan for 30 years, so, anything could happen, and then it did. What are you going to be able to grab onto to try and remain positive somehow for the next 2 weeks, Philly?
Oh, man, dude, they keep doing it to us right before the break. I'm going to try to not think about Spurs for 2 weeks because it's really all about the response. If they come back, I mean, City is around the corner. We have some big games around the corner. Who'd you say was next? West Ham? I mean, those are challenging matches in the life of a Spurs supporter. Yeah. So it's all about the response. I think Ange has steadily been moving us in the right direction. So I'm going to trust the process in that regard. I think at the beginning of the game, before kickoff, you were saying how Timo Werner has become a fall guy. Everybody always has a fall guy. We're Spurs. We have such a clear fall guy. I don't understand why the whole club can't get behind blaming Daniel Levy, because if we would have brought in an Eze who could have come in off the bench, this could have been a different story. But if we don't have to play Timo Werner, who is a shell of a man, he should not be anywhere near a Premier League pitch until he goes and sees a psychologist. He's lost his manhood. I call the emergency. He's lost.
But Philly, I'm Luke.
Yes.
Do you really think Eze was going to come to Tottenham to warm a bench? He had to start for us. He would have had to have played if we were to attract him to our club. And who would he have stepped in for at the time? And that's the problem Tottenham have at the moment is a Werner loan deal. The cheap option, unfortunately, is this stopgap where we're at right now with the whole Eze situation. I just never felt confident we was going to attract him if he wasn't bang straight in there starting for the club. What are your thoughts?
I think Eze. Sorry to jump in, really, but I think Eze would have come to the club if Richarlison had gone to Saudi. That's what I think they were waiting on.
That's interesting. It's hard to speculate. My question back to you is that we expect our managers to have the philosopher's stone and turn lead into gold, turn a big humps of coal into gold. Every project. There's no way this squad should be challenging for Premier League, but Ange Postecoglou is saying that is the goal. It's going to take a lot of luck for us to get to any cup final. And I know that's the goal. But at what point do we expect our ownership to live up to the motto of our club that has seen glory in the past to dare us to do? At what point is he going to push the boat out and surprise us and say, wow, he got one extra good player. Like the obvious player that Eze could have replaced is Werner. We need options on the wing. I mean, granted, we got 2 injuries, Sonny out, but we need to expect that. Odegaard out. But again, any 18-year-old coming in and playing full matches of Ange ball, his hamstring is like, like a rubber band stretch around fucking sumo wrestler. It's about to pop. So I would say Timo Werner was negligent. That's a negligent move. But anyway, all I'm trying to say is that we can take our collective rage and frustration, and we have the perfect person to blame. So I just think we all need to like keep a level head. Just because we won 5 on the trot, these were games that could have gone either way, and this is going to be a long time process. My concern is that the ownership will not go at the same speed as Ange Postecoglou, who does not like to stay at a club for 10 years. And we're buying 18-year-olds. So, when are we going to see this? Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, Philly, you're making good points. Look, and I think you're preaching to the converted when it comes to a lot of the people who watch this channel. I know there are a lot of people who follow this channel who are very angry with Daniel Levy, and you make salient points. I just think the reality, I mean, you were kind of asking it as a question, when is Daniel Levy going to do that and, surprise us by buying a £100 million player? The answer is never. Like that, he's going to run it sustainably, and he's going to wait until the stadium is bringing in so much money that becomes the norm in terms of the transfer fees. But in the meantime, do you feel confident that Postecoglou can at least, get us towards trophy-winning situations or challenging for the Premier League if he's still around in the next couple of years, I guess?
Yeah, I've refined my expectations for this season. I'm not really sure what to expect next season. I think we're awful volatile as a club, so I don't want to say anything for next season. This season, my expectations is that we're going to lean into this youth renaissance, and we're going to trust the kids in big moments, and we're going to see a lot of European debuts. So far, check those boxes, meeting my expectations. Another expectation is that we're going to dominate lesser teams. I don't want to get beat by Fulham or Wolves anymore. I want to dominate these teams with Ange's style of play, high press, suffocate them, and make it so all of the smaller clubs, they fear playing us because they're just going to get worn out and they're going to run out of ideas. And the last one is a cup run. I don't expect us to win a cup, but I want emphasis on a cup. The European Cup has been the highlight of the season so far. We got this new format for the Europa League is awesome. We get to go to 8 stadiums. I mean, imagine Mikey Moore as a 17-year-old playing at Rangers. Like, that's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a huge point of growth for him to be able to be there and hopefully as a squad we can come together and show some steel and work through some of the knockout rounds and really push and ask some questions. Those are my expectations.
Okay, Philly, mate, thank you so much for calling. Really appreciate it. I know how stressful today can be, and I hope you managed to sober up. But if you're struggling, then I just probably pour some more booze in that.
No, man. I got too much shit to do. I'll see you guys another time. Thanks for the conversation.
Man. Thanks a lot, Philly. Appreciate that, mate. Okay, next up, Donovan. Donovan, how you doing, mate?
Hey, lads, how you doing?
Pretty good, except for not being good at all.
Yeah.
How are you feeling? What do you think went wrong there? What happened?
Yeah, big up, Barnaby. Nice talking to you, Luke. I think it's the first time I've ever seen you, so big up for having to bear through that.
Top man.
Yeah, that was just shambolic. And the worst part about it, lads, is that, like, foolishly me, I thought those days were past. Like, if Gunners are runners and Spurs are bottlers, and it's just it sucks to take because you can blame the lack of finishing from Timo Werner. You can blame Cuti Romero, whose head is obviously still living in the glory of the 2022 World Cup. Son, aging and his body inevitably taking the toll of Ange. but you can't throw away a 2-goal lead away from home, especially against Brighton. If we were to go into moments of the game, there's a moment I think about where it was a simple 5-yard square to Dominic Solanke from Kulusevski, and that was 0. But what can you say, lads? Like, I mean, there's half a dozen of this, 6 the other. So,
do you think it's Do you think it was complacency? Do you think they Ange mentioned it in his quote? He said, you know, it was like the team came out and just expected to play exactly how they did the first half, and that the opposition would just, you know, roll out and let them. And do you think that's what it was? It was complacent. They thought they'd won the game already.
Yeah, and it's that's probably the easiest to put it, but it's a bit of a cop out as well when it's you can't be that undominant and not lethal in the final third there. Like, you take your chances when they come to you. And if I was Dominic Solanke, I'd be ripping them a new one, because how many times has he made himself available in the box, and you could see him getting visibly frustrated at the end. When I'm not blaming the guy, but when Destiny takes a weaker shot with his left foot, just slot him through there, right? How many times we have open crosses in the box where you can utilize his height, and that game was there for the taking. They play such a high line. You saw off the very first play of the game how Timo slotted in Brendan Johnson. So, yeah, it's a mixture of complacency and just lack of cutting edge in the final third. So, again, I thought we were over that. So,
yeah, we've talked a lot to a few of our guests today about QT Romero and him kind of turning off, a bit of a lack of concentration, and that really coming home to roost today. Would you be tempted to give Radu Dragusin a chance in the West Ham game now? I mean, certainly what I would say is with Dragusin, although you're going to lose out on some ability with the ball at his feet, he's not going to... I don't think for a minute that Radu Dragusin would have let Danny Welbeck be completely free 3 yards out for a free header there. I think he basically prides himself on the fact he's not going to lose any battles like that.
Lads, it kind of disappointed me that it took 3 goals for somebody to finally have the courage to give him the bollocking, and it was James Maddison to turn around and yell at him. Right. I don't know if it's because he won the World Cup. I don't know if it's because he's an absolute psychopath in training. I have no idea, but you have to hold him accountable. And if a leader, and he's wearing the captain's armband. So if he's not taking accountability for yourself, you have the likes of Vicario, who loves to go mental on people. Will go mental on the guy whose fault it was. So lackadaisical. His decision-making today was off. And Barnaby, you asked me there if we're going to lose anything at the back with him playing out of the back. He slows the game down sometimes. It's like, yeah, you can pick those perfect 1, 2 line, 3 line passes that can absolutely undo a team. But when that's only 1 out of 5 passes, and every time the ball gets to you, you slow it down and you allow the defense to shift. And that's the biggest thing for Ange Ball. I'll come to Bentancur in a second because I totally forgot about Bentancur. But when you have teams on the rope and they know that they're out of position and they know that you have the quality to hurt them with pace and a target man, they're going to be panicking. You give him that split second to switch back in and get that 5 yards back. I mean, all that hard work you did to get the ball in that position is negated. And that brings me to Bentancur. That first half performance from the team kind of overshadowed how poor I think Bentancur was at the beginning of the game. Is that, I don't know, everyone's allowed to have a bad game. It's nothing against Bentancur. I think he's the best position in the 6. I think he keeps the ball ticking. I think he's the man for the job. But he had a very bad game, in my opinion. I think Ange Ball relies on a 6 that needs to be able to take the ball under pressure, be able to turn with it and distribute it. And he was just dawdling on the ball. He gave the ball a couple times in the first half that was overshadowed by our finishing. And in the second half, when you don't raise your game or you snap out of it, and your team starts to play like shit too. Like, I mean, then it's all, you have nowhere to hide at that point. And so he was failed to set a tempo. That was clear to see in the second half when we couldn't get out of the slump. And for those, I don't want to go harsh on the kid, but for those who were clamoring for Mikey Moore to start there, I think it was pretty obvious why he wasn't ready for a Premier League start. So I think with Son on the wing there, that's a different game. But the positive I can take from that, guys, is that Johnson's 6-6. He looks like a killer. So I mean, that's what I'm clinging to. So
top man. Donovan, listen, mate, we've got to go, but thank you so much for calling in. Really appreciate it. And give us a call next time where hopefully we'll have turned over West Ham and we'll feel a lot better about our lives.
Yeah, cheers, lads. And another international break, eh? So let's keep it up, boys. I don't know.
Okay, cheers, Donovan.
Cheers, Donovan.
Thanks a lot. Guys, that's been today's post-match fan show. Thank you to Luke for sitting through the watch-along and the post-match reaction and the fan show. Guys, it's not been a good result. Can't sugarcoat it, but we played some lovely stuff in the first half, and there will be times, as Ange has always said, where it'll be one step forward, two steps back, and we've got to remain patient, we've got to remain strong, and we've got to hope that these players will never want that to happen again. And that is the only thing I can think of. Make sure you press subscribe on We Are Tottenham TV if you haven't already. International break. All we can hope is that when we get back, we can turn the hammers over at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Have a great couple of weeks. Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.